Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I'm Reverend Michelle Buheit, the minister of this congregation. We are so glad you have chosen to join us in worship. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we affirm that we need not think alike to love alike, meaning that we are a faith community woven together in shared covenant, rather than conformity of belief. This is the covenant that binds our congregation. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. If that sounds like the kind of community you've been seeking, please see our website, uuamherst.org, and get to know us better. It's been a year since our last service in our building. As the pandemic has raged and claimed lives, we have continued to find pathways to connection, to be together in virtual settings. Many of us are experiencing Zoom fatigue, with endless hours of screen time for work, school, and socializing. As the months of separation stretch on, I hope it's true that absence makes the heart grow fonder. You must be nearly out of your minds with love for this church. Although we've not been meeting in our building, much has been happening in the life of our congregation as we broaden our vision and work toward the future of our faith here in Amherst. This year, the Board of Trustees identified 3 areas of focus, concrete tasks that needed immediate attention for the health and vitality of our church. We call these 3 areas of focus the 3 foci, and they are 1. Undertaking the tasks to recertify our church as a green sanctuary with the Unitarian Universalist Association. 2. Finally, getting a new roadside sign to more adequately convey our presence and message to the community. And 3. Undertaking the process of engaging an architectural firm to help us evaluate our facilities for present and future needs. Last month, a letter went out inviting you to participate in a fundraising effort in support of the 3 foci, with each dollar being matched by our endowment trust up to $25,000. Our contributions instantly doubled to $50,000. Thank you to those who have responded so far, and it is not too late for the rest of you. Last week, we initiated the annual generosity campaign for pledges of financial support to create the budget for next fiscal year, with building operation costs, staffing, and our fair share contribution to the Unitarian Universalist Association. You'll be receiving letters for your pledge support very soon. Please fill them out and mail them back promptly, or go to our website to take care of it online. It might feel a little clunky to have 2 requests simultaneously, but for all of you who manage households, this is nothing compared to the complexity of your own finances. Please respond generously to keep our ministry and presence in Amherst lively and transformative. We really do make a difference in people's lives, including one another's. If you have questions regarding any of these endeavors, please do not hesitate to contact one of the Board of Trustees. Thank you in advance for your commitment, connection, reciprocity, and generosity. We begin our worship together by lighting the flaming chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism that embodies the light of reason and the search for truth and meaning, the warmth of friendship and community, and the fire of our commitment to bring more justice and compassion to a hurting world. If you have a chalice or simple candle at home, please prepare to light it as we light our shared chalice. May the lighting of this flame renew in us our endless search for all that is right and true, our abiding love of life, and all who share this life, and our unending dedication to following paths of peace and justice. The seventh principle of Unitarian Universalism affirms and promotes respect for the interdependent web of all existence. In recognition of all that connects us, we offer words of gratitude and responsibility. The campus of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst sits on 11 acres of land that was claimed and taken by white settlers from the Haudenosaunee, who took it from the regional indigenous people known as the Neutrals. We acknowledge that we have benefited greatly from that which belonged to others, and in a very real sense belongs only to itself. May we be good stewards of the land and teach ourselves and others to live in right relationship with the living earth.
Whether you're different, same ignorant or intelligent, whether you tell the truth, lie or embellish it, whether you live in gratitude or for the hell of it, it doesn't really matter, it's still one single fellowship. Whether you've been lustful or living celibate, whether you're an optimist or only see the negative, whether you're dead broke or rich from inheritance, doesn't really matter, we're made of the same sediment. Whether you got a family or single parenting, or you're Asian, African, European or American, whether you pray to God or atheist is irrelevant, cause what you got inside is the same as all your brethren. It'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you'll start to change. So keep loving everything you touch, everyone you see will soon become your family. Do you see yourself in the troubled and the homeless? Can you say everywhere you are is where your home is? Sharing your heart in the dark just like a lotus, letting your light shine bright so you can flow there. Everlasting love of grace like those did Jesus, Muhammad, Krishna, Buddha, and Moses, who carried the weight of the world upon their shoulders. So every time you fall down, go ahead and hold this close to your heart, cause you're a love soldier, and every time you get a chance, you pay it forward. Moving closer to heaven's gates, we're all soaring. Because of you, love is where we're headed towards. It'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you start to change. So keep loving everything you touch, everyone you see will soon become your family. So keep loving, gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair, gotta spread the love where nobody cares. Gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair. So keep loving, it'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you'll start to change. So keep loving everything you touch, everyone you see will soon become your family. So keep loving, gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair, gotta spread the love where nobody cares. Gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair. So keep loving, it'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you'll start to change. So keep loving everything you touch, everyone you see will soon become
include in our worship service a time for all ages. Whether it takes the form of a story or shared images or some other shape, this time is meant to engage all of us at all ages and stages of life. This part of the service is an integral part of our worship as a multi-generational community of faith.
Take 40. Now.
Go.
Now accent.
Renewal. Renewal is what brings us together today. And wealth, universal wealth, is a message that was carried by the wind many years ago. I'd like to tell you a story about the changing winds. You never know what the wind will blow in. The wind can change directions and change your life. I'm here to tell you a story of a man that had many winds shape his life. Man John Murray was an Englishman who had some excellent fortune blow his way early in his life. Mostly. He had a fine education, a steady job, a loving wife, and a young son. Life was good for John for some time, until one day a terrible wind blew, and John's wife and child became sick and died. John lost his job, lost all his money, and was put in debtor's prison. That is where our scene begins.
Ding!
Good evening, John. I have paid your debt, and now it is time for you to leave this horrid place. I know times have been hard. I thought God was a loving God. But why would a loving God take my family and everything from me? I'm not sure what I believe in anymore. It is time to put the past behind you, John. There is a ship to set sail for America. You should go. A new life awaits you there.
And so it was that on July 21st, 1770, a new wind blew, one of hope for a new beginning. John Murray booked passage on the Hand in Hand that set sail for New York City. All was on course until a thick, dense fog rolled in. Zero visibility. Everyone on board waiting in fear of the shipwreck. The ship drifted southward and ran aground in New Jersey. Captain, I will go ashore for directions and gather supplies. Making his way to a farmhouse with a modest chapel adjacent to it, spotting a man who was quickly approaching. Welcome to Good Luck Point. I noticed your ship has drifted ashore. My name is Thomas Potter. How could I be of service to you, good sir? My name is John Murray. I'm a passenger on this ship. We ran into some strange weather that led us off course, and now we seem to be stuck here without wind to blow us out. We have had a good harvest and plenty of food to share for all of your passengers on board. Please take these supplies, and might I ask you to join my wife and I for dinner this evening, Mr. Murray? We would be very grateful for your kindness, Mr. Potter. I would be delighted to join you for dinner. Later at the Potter's farmhouse. Welcome back, my friend. I'm glad you have returned. I have been expecting you for a long time. My apologies for keeping you waiting, Mr. Potter, but it's only been a couple hours. Please, call me Thomas. Allow me to explain. Take a walk with me. I'd like to show you the chapel. I built this chapel 10 years ago. A beautiful summer breeze blew, and I heard God's calling to build a place where everyone was welcome. I dreamed this chapel would be a place where truthful, loving, and inclusive religion would be preached. I prayed to God to send me a minister. John, you are that minister. I knew you would come. I never lost hope. No! See, Thomas, listen. I'm not a preacher anymore. I promised myself I would never preach again. I left that life behind me with the hopes of starting a fresh new life here in America. John, you are the Universalist minister that I have been waiting for. You are not here by accident. Please, preach on Sunday, here in this chapel that I built for you. I'm sorry, I cannot preach on Sunday. As soon as the winds change, my boat will set sail, and I must be on it. The wind will never change, sir, until you have delivered to us, in that meeting house, a message from God. If I am still here on Sunday, I will preach.
Excitedly shaking John's hand. How about a hug? Thomas Potter quickly invited all of his friends and neighbors to the service on Sunday morning. He was confident that the wind would not blow and that his dream was about to come true. On Sunday morning, September 30th, 1770, John Murray preached a message of universal love, a love that is available to all people everywhere. John Murray felt renewed, and he now wanted to preach more than anything. We cannot forget that Thomas Potter's hospitality, faith, and encouragement were all necessary elements that led John Murray to preach that day. The winds of renewal, connection, and friendship aligned perfectly for John Murray to share the message of universal love 250 years ago.
From the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 18. Jesus says, "What think you? If a person has 100 sheep, and one of them strays, will the person not leave the 99 on the hills and go and search for the one that is straying? And if he succeeds in finding it, I tell you that he rejoices more over that one sheep than over the 99 which did not stray. So too it is the will of my Father who is in heaven that not one of these little ones should be lost." Those 3 verses in the Gospel according to Matthew are possibly the shortest treatise on the nature of universalism, although I suppose we could bring it down further to just 2 words: no hell. Universalism claims that there is no ultimate separation from God. Oh, there were theological debates about the possibility of purgatory and short-term suffering to cleanse the soul, but the bottom line was that all souls would be reconciled to God. Period. Jesus' parable about the lost sheep removes even the possibility of short-term penance. The lost sheep is not put into timeout until it can acknowledge what it did wrong and promise to do better. No, the sheep is found, and there is rejoicing. Then, in case his listeners didn't get the point of the story, Jesus spoon feeds it to them. It is the will of my Father who is in heaven that not one of these little ones should be lost. The foundation of universalism is a love that will not let us go. It is based on an unbreakable bond, a relationship that can be counted on even when we feel completely lost. The universalism we have inherited is a Christian universalism, or at least a monotheistic one. It is also deeply steeped in a dualistic worldview that presupposes separation from God. Creator and creation are separate. God is seen as transcendent, not immanent, other, not integral. This form of universalism has been locked in a small room that we call the past. We bring it out every once in a while to admire its quaint shape and gently polish its fragile features. We cherish the courage of our ancestors to push against a Calvinist understanding of an angry God. But few of us recognize the courage it took for them to meet Scripture with Scripture to defend God's honor and moral relevance. The earliest Universalists were put to death for their heretical beliefs that cherished a personal mysticism with the loving God. Universalism was nearly stamped out, as anyone who let it be known that they strayed from orthodox Christian doctrine was systematically eliminated. But you may have heard that you can't keep a good person down, and you can't keep truth from resurfacing. In the 16th century, both Unitarianism and Universalism emerged from the shadows where they had been quietly flourishing. Once these hopeful theologies of reason and love were brought to the light of day, they quickly spread. God was not distant. Creation was not lost. All souls could be restored to love. Universalism awakens the senses and widens our vision. It whispers that everything around us, within us, and among us is a manifestation of an abiding love.
Wake now, my senses, and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the
That medley of Be Thou My Vision with Wake Now My Senses, both songs found in our Grey hymnal and sharing a traditional Irish melody, for me captures the broadest vision of universalism, a universal universalism. Be Thou My Vision is a traditional Universalist hymn filled with a longing to find oneness with the divine, where Wake Now My Senses expresses that oneness through service to others. Be Thou my vision, O God of my heart, naught be all else to me, save that Thou art. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. If you tuned in last Sunday, you might notice the elements of connectivity and reciprocity. Connection with love leads to acts of love. These are clearly universalist sentiments. But what exactly makes a universal universalism? And how do we move from the nostalgia of John Murray's story of 1770 to the future of our faith in the 21st century and beyond? Where do we fit in? Let's think about what a universal universalism looks like. First of all, it needs to be set free from its religious bonds in order for us to get the most expansive view possible. A truly universal universalism is theologically pluralistic. The common thread is love. There is room for many religious traditions and practices in this form of universalism. In fact, in order to live up to its name, they are absolutely mandatory. A universal universalism includes all whose core is love, compassion, and service. Universalism is revolutionary. It is love in action. It says you are worthy. It says everyone is worthy of love and belonging. Everyone is worthy of access to health care. Everyone is worthy of having enough, of belonging. If you don't think these expressions of love are revolutionary, you've not been paying attention to what is happening in the world around us. Ask your conservative relatives or coworkers what they think about universal access to basic resources that make life worth living and alleviate pain and suffering, and you will get an earful. This kind of love is countercultural and revolutionary. This revolutionary, universal love and care is at the heart of Unitarian Universalism. It is sometimes hard for people who are bound by belief to understand the nature of our covenantal faith based in action. They look at our principles and purposes that lift up the inherent worth and dignity of each person with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and they dismiss us as the lowest common denominator of religions. However, Harvard comparative religion professor Diana Eck has recognized our calling to serve others and has described us this way. Unitarian Universalism is not the lowest common denominator. It is the highest common calling. The world is in need of your theology. The world is in need of our theology. The world is in need of a universalism that enlarges our hearts and breaks into the future of our faith. I turn to the words of one of the most prolific Unitarian Universalist theologians of the late 20th century, Forrest Church. Like many of us, Reverend Church's actions did not always reach the heights of his aspirations, but he certainly loved this faith and spoke lovingly of both our past and the promise of our future. In the Cathedral of the World, he wrote, We Unitarian Universalists have inherited a magnificent theological legacy. In a sweeping answer to dogmas that divide the human family, Unitarianism proclaims that we spring from a single source. Universalism, that we share a common destiny. In its original expression as a development within Christian theology, Universalism advanced the radical notion that all of God's children go to heaven. Interpreted more broadly, Universalism is an inclusive faith, rejecting the divisive notion that people fit into two categories, sheep and goats, the saved and the damned. We spring from a single source, and we share a common destiny. Not only does that apply to every human being on the planet, it applies to every form of life, including the intricate living earth. Transforming love and compassionate action make up universalism, the legacy that we have inherited. We may or may not describe our experience as being so God-filled that we overflow with love, but I think we can lay claim to a deep river of unconditional love that fills us and carries us through our lives. Our response to being so deeply loved is to overflow with reciprocity and generosity. We are going to pause now to respond to that love with an opportunity to give generously to the ministry of this congregation. I invite you to text your financial support to 833-987-1968 or go to our website, uuamherst.org, and click on the giving link.
At the beginning of time and at the end, you are God, and I bless you. At my birth and in my dying, in the opening of the day and at its close, in my waking and my sleeping, you are God, and I bless you. You are the first and the last, the giver of every gift, the presence, without whom there would be no present, the life, without whom there is no life. Lead me to the heart of life's treasure, that I may be a bearer of the gift. Lead me to the heart of the present, that I may be a sharer of your eternal presence.
As a deer longs for flowing streams, so my soul longs for you. As a deer longs for flowing streams, so my soul longs for you. As a deer longs for flowing streams, so my soul longs for you. As a deer longs for flowing streams, so my soul longs for you. As a deer longs for flowing streams, so my soul longs for you.
I begin the final portion of our reflection with an excerpt from Nancy MacDonald Ladd's book, After the Good News. She writes, "If God's name is love, then God compels us to resist the fall to sinful violence by pushing back with muscular resolve against the social structures that confine our capacity to care. A universalist God for a tragic era is not a gauzy, hymn-singing force of personal devotion that draws us endlessly toward itself, but a fierce and compelling power that grips us by the collar amid a rebellious descent and calls us to choose the will to mutuality all over again, even when that choice is so risky that it could utterly remake us. Ours is not the path of belief in exchange for personal salvation. Ours is the path of revolutionary love that topples corrupt systems and transforms lives. We know it to be true historically. I mention it all the time. Clara Barton, Dorothea Dix, the abolitionists, even the utopians who dreamed of a better way, a communal way. All of this is revolutionary love in action. To some degree, it was based on the biblical idea of bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth in the here and now. But if we could travel back in time and interview some of these world changers, I think we would find that their reasons were less theological than they were practical and compassionate. Look at Jesus' parable of the lost sheep. No measure was too extreme to bring in the lost sheep. The other 99 would be just fine. They were safely in for the night. It had been a long day, and the shepherd was likely tired. More than likely, the flock was not even his. Most shepherds tended others' sheep. If one was wealthy enough to have livestock, one was wealthy enough to have someone else look after them. What is the equivalent in our time? Who are the lost sheep? The ones who fall through the cracks. The ones that capitalism dismisses as unproductive and therefore unworthy. The ones who may not have had the resources for higher education and were shuffled off to minimum wage jobs, service jobs, jobs that we now know are essential for the working of society, but not essential enough to pay a living wage. The unworthy are those who spend every waking hour working and still not able to make it. What would the shepherd do? Leave the faithful sitting in the pews? Go out, gather the lost sheep? Universalism is revolutionary. Following the actions of the domestic terrorists storming the Capitol building on January 6th, I feel the need to qualify what I mean when I say that universalism is revolutionary. I do not mean revolutionary in the sense of violence and destruction. Quite the opposite. I speak of a revolution of love and compassion, of extraordinary care for the marginalized and vulnerable. A revolutionary universalism lifts up the best of humanity, not its worst. It is countercultural, challenging the status quo and imagining a world where fairness matters, where justice, equity, and compassion are possible. A universal universalism is all-encompassing. Let's put the word universal in front of the primary needs of our society, and we'll see the path to reclaiming the lost sheep. Universal health care, universal food security, universal education that is universally available and affordable. The rest of the developed nations in the world somehow manage to do all of this for their people to level the playing field, giving everyone a chance to live their lives, not just work jobs and fall further and further behind. The universalism of the 21st century is proactive. It is love made manifest. If you are not able to get out and do, then it is up to you to fund the projects so others can go out. You can write to politicians and insist on the universals that make life possible and enjoyable. You can insist that the broken system that treats humans like a commodity rather than with inherent worth and dignity be torn down. Humans are remarkably creative and inventive. Insist that we come up with something new. I hear from so many of our church elders that they feel badly when I put out a call to action, that their bodies won't allow them to do things anymore, or the pandemic is keeping them inside and isolated. I say, make phone calls, write letters. None of us are done with creating a legacy that favors the billions of people that will come after us. The past is done. You have some lovely memories and a photograph or two, but you are not done. You have important work to do. We are in a revolution to bring more love and compassion to a hurting world. Every destructive choice we make, from spraying lawns to planting ornamental invasives, will have an impact in the near and far future. Every positive choice we make also has an impact. Make good choices. Make choices that support life, not ones that tear it down. Poet and author Alice Walker captures the unconditional nature of a revolutionary love. Love is not concerned with whom you pray or where you slept the night you ran away from home. Love is concerned that the beating of your heart should kill no one. We are love revolutionaries, love activists. How dare we sit by when there are children in cages, people dying of thirst in the desert, families unable to feed their children? These are the lost sheep waiting for a shepherd to guide them home. This work will break your heart. This work will give your life meaning. Immersing ourselves in the work of dismantling oppression, of changing lives to change the world, will usher in a truly universal universalism. Then we will have earned our place as humanity's highest common calling.
Whether you're different, same ignorant or intelligent, whether you tell the truth, lie or embellish it, whether you live in gratitude or for the hell of it, it doesn't really matter, we're still one single fellowship. Whether you've been lustful or living celibate, whether you're an optimist or only see the negative, whether you're dead broke or rich from inheritance, doesn't really matter, we're made of the same sediment. Whether you got a family or single parenting, or you're Asian, African, European or American, whether you pray to God or atheist is irrelevant, cause what you got inside is the same as all your preference. troubled and the homeless. Can you say everywhere you are is where your home is? Sharing your heart in the dark just like a lotus, letting your light shine bright so you can flow there. Everlasting love of grace like those did Jesus, Muhammad, Krishna, Buddha, and Moses, who carried the weight of the world upon their shoulders. So every time you fall down, go ahead and hold this close to your heart, cause you're a love soldier. And every time you get a chance, you pay it forward. Moving closer to heaven's gates, we're all soaring. Because of you, love is where we're headed towards. Despair, gotta spread the love where nobody cares. Gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair. So keep loving, it'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you'll start to change. So keep loving, everything you touch, everyone you see, will soon become your family. So keep loving, gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair, gotta spread the love where nobody cares. Gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair. So keep loving, it'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you'll start to change. So keep loving, you touch, everyone you see will soon become your friend. So keep loving.
Thank you for joining us in worship today. Please see the credits at the end of this service for information about the music and other worship elements. And do take a moment to visit our website, uumherst.org, and click on the giving link or text your gift to 833-987-1968. Your generosity in online giving is the virtual equivalent of passing the offering plate and is in addition to your pledges of ongoing financial support. Thank you in advance for your generosity. We close this time of worship as we extinguish our chalice with these familiar words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Reverend Leslie Takahashi provides this benediction to bless the time we have shared together. All that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stands with us on the brink of all that we aspire to create: a deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a greater generosity of spirit, a deeper joy in this life we share.
For all that is